I've opened Connected Drawing Dead Mouse and the Point-to-Point project forward as an example to explain about the connectors. Connectors are components that are commonly used to connect different parts of a circuit. Moreover, it is used to connect group of wires or a wire at a single junction and to a separate wires easily in a drawing. To insert a connector, you have to go to the Insert Components panel of the Schematic tab and from the Connected drop-down, choose the Insert Connector. A dialog box will be displayed for you in the right side of the dialog box. You have a preview of a connector that each number represents the pin number of the connector. So in the penis spacing added box, you can specify spacing value between pins. Also, you can specify desired number of pins in your connector. In this part, you can see the panic button, which allows you to select 2 points and the term and pin count for your new connector. Now, I'm going to select Pick Bottom then and the command line. You can see the command which asks you to insert connector from point. I specify first insertion point and I click on it. Then I will be asked to insert another points again. So I can look at this point here. You can see the number which is inserted in the pin counts added box. When I select the insert, a connector will be available and I place it wherever I want. Then the Insert Added Components dialog box will be displayed. You can see component tag, which is predefined and it is possible to change it. Finally, by selecting the OK button, you can see your connector here and the number of pins, which is specified in this connector based on the lens of poise, which I inserted in the previous step. Now I'm going to describe the other options and connector dialog box. So for the second time I choose connector to discuss about the other options. Here, 2 options are available for determining the space between panes. The fixes facing is used to hold spacing between panes. But in war crossing bottom, the space between panes are specified based on intersection with the wires. To show you the example, I'm going to insert a collector with the fix the spacing in a ladder. Here you can see the pin numbers space are fixed and have not changed, but again, I'm going to insert another connector with one crossing button selected. As you see, when I insert this component, the pins numbers space have been changed based on the wire crossing and the ladder. Again, I'm going to select the insert connector to explain the other options. The next one is panelists, which allows you to specify the startling number of your connector. Also, the Insert All option is used to insert the connector without any breaks or spacers to add any breaks or spacers between the panes of your connector to allow spacers breaks. Bobtown can be used. When you select this option, you will be prompted to specify insertion points so quickly at your desired point to insert the connector. After that, a new window will be opened for you. There are many selections. The first one allows you to insert the next pin without any space. The next one add a spacer is for having the space between the connector pins. For example, here I select the next connection, and in the screen you can see one of the pins which is inserted, Simon, tenuously. Now, I want to just add a space between pins, so I select add a spacer. Note that here I'm placing my desired pins and space to create a connector. Finally, when the numbers of pins have been finished, the window will be closed automatically and then the connector will be created. And here you can see the space and pins inserted here. Now I'm going to open Insert Connector dialog box again to explain about the other options more. To switch the orientation of a connector, you can choose the Rotate button, which makes it possible to insert connector vertically or horizontally. The next option is Flip button, which makes it possible to change the placement of pins numbers. The details bottom contains Tiffany over connector. Connector can be a combination of two parts, flogger, receptacle. If you choose plug only, as you see in the preview window, the receptacle parts will be removed. And for removing plug parts, you have to choose receptacle only bottom. But if you want to have both of them, there is a typical combination option needed to be chosen. You can divide the connector in two parts by selecting Activia, their line checkbox. If you want to have pins in both sides of your connector, you can choose from the pins added box, both sides. There are other options here, such as bog side, which inserts the numbers in the side of block, then other one is receptacle side, which places the numbers in the side of receptacle. And if you want to hide the numbers, you can choose hypos to do that. For creating the outline of a connector, the size area can be used to change the size of a component's part. You can enter values in each box to create your desired connector. There it is for entering the radius for the rounded portion of their block. Sometimes you need to insert a break your connector, such as this one here, to show you how to create this kind of components. Again, I'm going to select Insert Connector, 2. And as you know, to allow space says breaks option is needed to be selected. I choose Insert Bottom. Then in the command line, I will be prompted to specify a point to insert the break. I'm going to select break symbol so you can see the first part have been inserted, and you will be asked to insert the second part of your connector. Finally, connector layout, which allows you to specify the spacing value, and the other options will be opened. Now I select like OK button, and then the custom pin dialog box will be shown for me, and the top of this dialog box, you can see that the numbers of pins which have been inserted up to here. So for the rest of pins it is up to you. And based on your need, you can add a space or insert the next spin or select break option for the next time. Now I want to insert another pin. Then you can see the numbers here are increased, and I will continue until the numbers of pins will be finished. Now, the numbers of pins have been specified before, and here you can see that your connector is divided into several parts. You will often need to insert a connector as a child of a parent connector. To do that again, I'm going To insert the connector in the Insert Connector dialog box. There is an option to a star connector. As a child I inserted and then place it at a location I'm doing. So the child component dialog box will be opened for me, which makes it possible to edit my child components. Insert a tag or any description to it, and finally to specify parent component for my connector. I'm going to choose Parent Sibling button. Then I have to select the component as a parent, and then by pressing OK button, the two components will be related and linked together. If you want to insert a child connector, it's a broken sole, such as this connector, again, you have to choose Connector to. And then here select Start with break beside the Start connector as a child checkbox, then select Insert. Place your connector. Again, you have to determine the parent connector and choose it in your drawing, and in the last step, you can see the two connectors are linked together. And also this connector has a broken top. In this section, I'm going to explain about the tools which provide editing connectors, so to do that, just click on your component and then select Edit Components. The Insert Added Component dialog box will be displayed. You can edit or assign pin numbers to a connector. To do that, select the List from Pins area in the Open dialog box. The list of all pin numbers can be seen. To modify each pin number, so you can select it on the upper left corner of this dialog box. The tag and pin counts are available in the Shoot Reference column. The reference line number of a connector and shift number is displayed. You can change the value of plug and septical column by entering a value in the plug added box. The first description column is the description of a plug and the second one is for receptacle. As you know, this is a description of the terminal. Now I want to write a description for my connector's terminal and see their results. And the phone numbers panel, you can see the number of wire which is connected to the terminal, as you see here in the wire number. You will often need to change to some specifications of the inserted connectors. One of them is adding pins to a connector manually. This still is for adding additional pins. So to do that, in the Added Components panel and from the Modified Connectors drop-down, you can select the Add Connector Pins, to. And this is step. You will be prompted in the command line to select connector. Then for the second time is specify the points that you want to insert a new pin, click on wherever you want. As you see, the new pin is inserted and the command will be continue until you press escape. If you're just click on your connector. There are several tools available to delete the pins of your connector. You can select connector pins and choose each one that you want to be deleted. The command will be continued until you press escape. Also, to move the pins, there is another tool that could make it possible, so like the old connector pins. Then in the camel line, you will be prompted to select each pants that you want to be moved. When you select your desired pen and the camera line, you will be asked to specify the new location for your pin. Click at the point that you want. then the pin number will be moved. To reverse the direction of the collector, you can use reverse connector, too. So by selecting the collector, it can be done easily, and by pressing escape, you can exit the command. Also, it is possible to rotate your connector by using another method. Just right-click on the connector. And then you can see the rotate connector shows it. Then by clicking on your connector, many times the exact rotation can be obtained. Finally, by pressing escape, you can exit the command. It is possible to stretch or extend your connector by selecting a stretch connector too at the same moment. You will be asked in the command line to specify second points. So while clicking at the location that you want, the connector will be extended. This part of the connector is called break line. The type of this line can be changed. Let's see how it can be done. So I'm going to split this connector. Therefore, the split connector tool that is located in the added components panel of the schematic tab has to be selected. Then you need to select your object that you want to be broken. After that, as it is mentioned in the command line, you have to specify split point, then the split block dialog box will be displayed. Near the break time area, you can specify the type of line. Also you can have no lines. Your connector break by choosing no lines. There's straight lines will create the break parts such as this case. And the jagged lines are similar to this one. Also, you can throw your desert break line by selecting Druid option. You can change the layer type by choosing the list button, and in the open window you can see all the existing layers in this drawing. And you can select each one of them. At this moment, because I don't want to make any changes into labor, I cancelled Wathan. Finally, based on your requirement, you can choose each type of break line. I'm going to choose the straight lines and see the results, so I choose OK. At the next step, you have to place to remain part of your connector. And finally, to apply the straight line can be seen in this part. It is obvious that after inserting connectors and terminals or electrical components of a circuit, you will need to connect to one or more wires to them. Therefore, there are several tools that I'm going to explain about them. The first one is a splice tool. To do that, you have to go to the Insert Components panel, and then from the Insert Connector drop-down, choose the insert this applies to. There is a third component dialog box will be displayed for us here. You have to choose the symbol of this flies then, and the command line, you will be prompted to specify insertion point to place your press release, do it, and then the added component will be shown. As you know, you can edit your connector tag or specify description for aids or other options, which I had explained before. Then by choosing OK, the answer to this lies will be shown for you. No, I want to insert wires into my connector. To do that, you have to choose Warrior to be learned in previous sessions about inserting wires. So I'm going to choose wire from the answers fires while your numbers pano. On doing so in the command line, you will be requested to specify the wire starts. After that, you have to specify the endpoint of your wire by pressing Escape. You can terminate your wire. Also, it is possible to insert multiple variables into your connector, so to do that, you can select multiple balls. And also, as we talked about multiple variables in previous session, you can specify and change the value of default options in this dialog box. Because you want to add multiple balls into your connector, you have to choose component option to do that. Select OK, then you will be prompted to do a window which contains the slanting wire connection points. You can specify the window wherever you want to insert the wires. I decide to insert wires to dispense. So I'm going to droids and pins, which are in the drawer window, become red, then by pressing Enter button and moving your mouse, you can see the inserted multiple boss wires that you can place it wherever you want by clicking at a location.